Chapter 1. Why you don't feel the need to post your life. Have you ever noticed that you don't really feel the urge to post your life online? Your private photos, the dinner you loved but didn't photograph, the gym progress you didn't announce, the birthday you enjoyed without proving it happened. Even your biggest wins, you tend to keep them close. And maybe that's exactly why you click this video. Because at some point, you started wondering why you don't feel compelled to share every moment the way other people do. We live in a world that rewards flexing. Visibility gets attention. Attention turns into status. So when you choose not to be seen like that, it can feel unusual. Sometimes it even feels like something you're supposed to explain. And then there's the opposite type of person. You know them. They post constantly. Meals, moods, milestones, minor updates, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. Their life reads like a public log. And at some point you've probably thought, why does this need an audience? Eventually, a different question forms. What if posting stopped being about connection and became about performance? And if that's true, what does it say about you for not wanting to perform? And what does it say about a culture that quietly pressures everyone to? Psychology points to something most people never pause long enough to notice. Because this isn't really about social media habits. It's about where your sense of self is anchored. Some people only feel real once their experience is reflected back to them. Others feel real before anyone else ever sees it. And if you've never needed an audience to feel secure in who you are, there's a reason for that. By the end of this video, you'll have language for something you've likely felt for years but never fully articulated. And if this describes you, you're not alone. You're just someone who learned early that not everything meaningful needs to be displayed. In the next part, we're going to break down how identity actually forms and why some people learn to depend on visibility while others don't. Chapter 2. How identity actually forms a person's sense of self doesn't appear all at once. It's built gradually, through repeated experiences that teach the brain where value comes from. Think about what happens when something genuinely good occurs in your life. You get a promotion after months of work. You step on the scale and finally see the number you've been aiming for. You follow through on something you once doubted you could finish. That feeling of pride can land in two very different ways. For some people, the moment doesn't fully register internally. Almost immediately, their attention shifts outward. They start thinking about how to share it, how to frame it, who will see it, and how it will be received. Until the moment is posted and reacted to, it feels incomplete. The achievement exists, but it doesn't feel real yet. Other people experience the same moment and do something else. They sit with it, they replay it privately, they might tell one person they trust, or no one at all. The satisfaction arrives without needing confirmation. That difference matters more than it seems. Because over time, those reactions become habits, and habits quietly shape identity. Chapter 3. 2 different ways people learn who they are. Let's be very clear about what we're talking about. There are 2 common ways people learn to feel secure in themselves. The first develops when approval consistently comes from outside. For example, a child who is praised mainly when they perform. A teenager whose photos, opinions, or personality get reinforced through likes, comments, and attention. A young adult who learns that visibility brings reassurance. Over time, the brain connects being seen with being valued. The second develops differently. It forms when effort, curiosity, and follow-through are noticed, or sometimes not noticed at all, but still feel meaningful. When satisfaction comes from finishing something, understanding something, or simply knowing you did it. In that case, the brain connects experience itself with value. Neither path forms overnight. They're built through thousands of small moments, and once those patterns set in, they don't just affect posting habits. They shape how people think, decide, relate, and regulate their emotions. Chapter 4. Why some people feel relief when they don't post. This is where many people recognize themselves. If you've ever noticed that stepping away from posting makes you calmer, clearer, or more focused, that's not because you're antisocial or detached. It's because your emotional stability doesn't depend on being reacted to. When nothing is being shared and no one is responding, you don't feel like something is missing. You still feel intact. In practical terms, that means fewer mental interruptions. You're not splitting attention between living the moment and documenting the moment. You're not monitoring how something might look while it's still happening. You're not checking reactions to decide how you should feel about what just occurred. The experience stays whole, and that changes how your mind feels throughout the day. Chapter 5. What changes when your life isn't being watched? People who don't feel the need to post often experience less mental fragmentation. By that, I mean their attention isn't constantly pulled in multiple directions. They're not mentally switching between doing, recording, editing, comparing, and explaining. They tend to finish tasks without narrating them. They make decisions without running them past an invisible audience. They enjoy moments without immediately turning them into content. Socially, this creates a very specific kind of confidence. Not the loud kind, not the kind that needs to signal importance. It's the kind that stays steady even when no one is watching. These people don't disappear when attention fades, because their sense of worth was never built on attention to begin with. That's why silence doesn't feel threatening to them. It feels normal. Chapter 6. Clearing up a major misunderstanding. This doesn't mean everyone who posts is insecure. What it means is that people regulate themselves differently. Some people need feedback to calm their doubts. Seeing reactions helps them decide how they feel about themselves. Others decide how they feel first, and feedback, if it comes at all, is secondary. Neither is moral by default, but the difference becomes obvious over time. One relies on constant external input to stay balanced. The other stays balanced even when there's no input at all. And that difference explains a lot of modern tension. Chapter 7. Why this matters more than social media. When your sense of self doesn't depend on being visible, a few things happen naturally. You stop wondering whether you should be sharing more. You stop interpreting quiet periods as something being wrong. You stop assuming that a meaningful life needs constant proof. Your life feels complete even when it isn't being displayed. That doesn't make you superior, but it does make you harder to manipulate. Because systems built on attention don't work as well on people who aren't hungry for it. Conclusion: knowing who you are without an audience. If you don't feel the urge to post your life, it isn't because you're behind or missing something. It's because your sense of identity comes from what you experience, not from how others react to it. When something happens in your life, the meaning lands inside first, not after a response, not after approval. And once you understand that, a lot of confusion disappears. You realize that wanting privacy doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you don't need validation to feel real. And that's a distinction most people never slow down enough to notice. Now I'm curious, did stepping away from posting make your life feel calmer, or did it feel uncomfortable at first? And do you think people post mainly to share experiences, or to steady themselves emotionally? Let me know in the comments. This conversation is always more interesting there.